whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So I wanted to address a comment in the comment section. Yesterday's show was probably a little bit more positive and upbeat than some of you wanted. The day after a loss on the road in which we went 0-4 in the red zone and only compiled 10 points. I get it. It's not what you want. It's not what you thought this team would be when the season started. And again, I can't be too upset when I went into these games. I don't care how good we were, what we thought we were going to be. I can't tell you how good you thought this team was going to be. I told you I thought that this was a floor of 7 wins, a ceiling of 10. And in that baked prediction for the season were 2 losses in particular to Green Bay and Kansas City. Well, we lost both of those games and a loss to Buffalo as well. And I said before the season started, if we wanted to go and be closer to that 10-win prediction, that we needed to find a way to win a couple of these games against these upper echelon teams. There were 5 in particular that had outstanding quarterbacks, and I said we needed to find a way to win 2 of these games out of the 5. It was Josh Allen, it was Patrick Mahomes, it was Aaron Rodgers, it was Tom Brady, and it was Russell Wilson. And I said we got to find a way to win 5 out of those 5 games, 2 of them. Well, we went 0-3 so far. We've got 2 of them left. The likelihood of us winning 2 at this point, slim and none. You may be able to beat the Seahawks. You probably won't beat the Seahawks. We'll see what happens. Don't know what the team will be like in week number 12 or 13 when we play them on Monday Night Football. But back to the original discussion. So I told you guys I want to hear from you, and I don't want you just agreeing with me for the sake of agreeing with me. I want your true feelings and opinions. Sometimes it's more than I can handle and bear, and I said, okay, I got what I asked for, and now I don't want it. Okay, some of you are just way out there, but I still want to hear from you anyway. And I know I'm not always going to agree with you, and you're not always going to agree with me, and that's what makes this relationship between me and you guys so awesome, is that we can agree and disagree with one another, but at the end of the day, we're still family, and that's what family does. You know, families agree with one another, they love each other, they don't agree with each other, they still love each other. That's what makes a family a family. And so I got a comment here from my guy, JB Johnson, that I want to share with you guys. So let's take a look at his comment. All right. And so JB Johnson writes, what's happening is you're lowering the bar and reaching. We lost pretty bad and we're not progressively getting better. So I responded to that comment already, but I want to address it again here. So I'll read to you guys what I wrote, and then he responded to my comment, and then I'm going to further elaborate on the topic, and then we'll move forward. So I wrote back to him, and this is in response to the video yesterday, the Washington Football Nightly video yesterday, where I was very upbeat and positive. You know, despite a loss, and the title said it all. Despite falling to 2-5, and, you know, with a loss at Green Bay, I feel really good. You know, and this is the best I've felt since the week 4 win, at Atlanta, going into week 5 against New Orleans. So I wrote back to that response. We lost by 14 on the road to a superior team where the defense held the opponent to less than 300 yards. Meanwhile, the offense had more than 400 yards and didn't punt once, but we went 0 for 4 in the red zone for 0 points. Again, if you can't see how this team is improving, and I put in parentheses, still have a ways to go, which I acknowledged on overtime and in yesterday's episode, but it's moving in a positive direction, then we'll just have to agree to disagree. If you are still holding the team to the same standard as when the season began, you'll be frustrated every week because that's not who this team is. The bar has definitely moved, but doesn't mean it can't be raised as we go. His response to that, is, so in other words, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, the Washington football team's bar is fluid. Quote, fluid. He says, I get it. On offense, we move the ball, but those red zone mistakes and play calling choices are consistently bad. Green Bay would have just ratcheted up their play had we scored because every team has Ron and Jack's number, and it's pretty clear. Notice Aaron Rodgers plus all the QBs are all smiles during the game against us because they're comfortable that they can get to the end zone with ease. That falls on Ron in the end to not step up and give input to the defense and stop getting annoyed at legit questions by the media. Media keeps asking him the questions that fans want answered. So I thought that was a great comment and a second great comment by JB Johnson. And I want to thank you for your participation and your comment. So I want to elaborate on what was said by JB. So I want to take the first comment, which is the bar has been lowered and we weren't close in the game. I beg to differ, and I've already, answered that in the comment, where I feel like the Washington football team improved on Sunday. And you could argue that, and I've heard people say, well, the Green Bay Packers weren't taking us seriously. And look, no team in the NFL wants to play in a close game. If they think you're garbage, they may not bring their A game. They may not have the laser-like focus that they'll have to have on Thursday night to take on the Arizona Cardinals. I acknowledge that. However, if opportunities present itself for them to score 35 instead of 24, they're going to do that, okay? It's not because they said, 24 will be enough this week. It's because they weren't able to move the football as effectively. Rodgers had great numbers in the game, but when it came down to it on third downs and in some situations where we needed stops, we got stops. Now, it wasn't always the case. Obviously, they went for it on fourth down once, got it. They had a touchdown right before the half, and they had a touch. Honestly speaking, of their 3 touchdowns, 2 of them, one was gifted to them by the fumble to start the second half, where they were able to take advantage of that opportunity and get into the end zone with the touchdown to Robert Tonyan. The touchdown right before the half, that's a great throw by Rodgers. Back shoulder, great job of his receiver, Alan Lazard, positioning himself. And that's what Taylor Heinicke tried to do when he ended up throwing the pick. And you could tell that the receiver he was throwing to, and I can't recall if that receiver was, I want to say it was Dax Milne. I can't recall who exactly the receiver was on that play. It wasn't Terry. I know that much. Might have been Adam Humphries. I don't think it was. I think it was Dax Milne. Either way, there was no synchronicity there. You could tell Rodgers had thrown that back shoulder to Alan Lazard multiple times, and there was a chemistry there. There was zero chemistry with what Taylor Heinicke was trying to do. He was trying to throw it back shoulder. His receiver was going inside. There was no, and the corner's like, oh, I got a gift. So he took the pick. And then the first touchdown, they had to go for it on fourth down. And Rodgers made a hell of a play. So it's not like these were easy touchdowns like in past weeks where against Atlanta, you got Cordero Patterson 8 yards behind the defense on a walk-in 50-some-odd yard touchdown. Or, the next week after that, you got Deontay Harris, 20 yards behind the defense, and that's 75 yards for a touchdown. And then, the week after that, you got some big plays by the Chiefs offense en route to scoring 31 points. Or in their particular game, the biggest touchdown was the last one, but they had a 40-yard gain to Mecole Hardman, and then there was the drive where they broke our back, where they went literally 95 yards down the field and went like 7 of 7 on third downs on the drive and got into the end zone. That never happened in this game. So to me, it's an improvement. The offense turned it over in prime position for Green Bay to take advantage. They did. The defense gave us ample opportunities to put points on the board and take the lead against Green Bay. They never did. It stayed at 7 apiece. And then Green Bay said, well, since you don't want the lead, we'll take it before half. We know you get the ball after halftime, so we need to make sure, in case you decide to finally punch one of these suckers in, let's go ahead and take the lead before half. And they did. Now, I'm going to say this. If you're one of these fans that had the bar set at 11, 12 wins before the season started, which I thought was ridiculous in itself, but that's nor here nor there. If you had that bar set that high before the season started, you should have recalibrated after about week 3 or 4. It probably shouldn't have taken you that long, but I was one of those guys that kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for this defense. But after the Atlanta game, when the Falcons hadn't scored more than 16 points in any game, oh, well, I shouldn't say that. They scored 25 against the Buccaneers. But they hadn't really scored, and they were averaging 16 points per game coming into that week 4 contest against us. And they put up 30. That's when I said, okay, this defense isn't any good right now. And it's probably not going to reach our expectations this season, which means any expectations that I had for the team need to be lowered. So if you're still sitting there and looking at this team as an 11-12 win team, and you're gauging their progress based off of what you thought they were going to be when the season started, you're going to be extremely frustrated every single week because they're not even close to what we thought they were going to be. And I didn't think they were going to be an 11-12 win team. Okay, I thought they were somewhere in that 8-9 range, which they can still get to 8, possibly 9, depending on how things go. But I was in that 8-9 range, with 10 being everything going right. We stay healthy, ball bounces our way. That's how we were going to get to 10, which obviously hasn't happened this season. So even with the bar set at 8-9 wins, I've already lowered the bar. And I told you guys that maybe last week, I think it was. So the expectations have been lowered. The bar has been lowered. You can call the bar fluid if you like. That's fine. But, I like to give you guys analogies, when I talk about things so that I can put it in layman's terms to you and give you a better way of looking at it. So my analogy here for the bar that this team has had set for them and has been adjusted for me, at least. I can't speak for you. I look at it this way. My son is 3 years old. I bought him his first basketball hoop for his 3rd birthday. When we first put the basketball hoop together, the hoop was about maybe 5-6 feet tall. You put it at the highest height, and I wanted to see if he could shoot and make a basket at that height. Very quickly, I realized he can't get the ball that high, and he doesn't understand the concept of putting arc on the ball. Everything was a line drive, Shaq free throw, dart, okay? He's not going to make a shot at 6 feet tall. So you know what I have to do? I have to lower the rim, okay? Yeah, I would like him to be able to shoot at the 6 feet mark and make it, but he's not there yet. And I understand that, and I get it. So you set the bar high, you realize that's way too high. He's not going to make that shot. So now I have to move the hoop down. So we move it down to the next click down. And that's it, right around 5 feet. Still a little too high for him. So you know what I did? I set it down a little bit lower, down to about 4 feet. And now he's hitting the rim, but still not getting over the rim where he needs to. And he's still not understanding that concept of, hey, a little bit arc, a little bit more touch on that thing, and maybe it gets over the rim and goes in. So then I had to lower it down to the lowest setting possible. And now he's making shots, okay? Now, as he gets older and a little bit stronger and he starts to understand how to shoot a little bit better, yeah, I'm going to raise the hoop up a little bit more and say, hey, you can do it. Shoot it now and see if you can make it. And that's essentially what I'm doing with this team. I set the bar high to start the season off. Not as high as some of you out there, but I set it high enough, coming off of a 7-9 season with the improvements that we felt like were made in the offseason. I thought 9 wins, 10 if everything goes well, ball bounces our way, we stay healthy, was within reason, okay? Quickly, I realized this defense is not what we thought it was. There is no healthy Curtis Samuel. We just lost Logan Thomas. Brandon Sheriff is out again. Sam Cosmi is out. All of these things start to mount, and you realize defense isn't good. We've got injuries. The ball's not bouncing our way, clearly. How about we lower this bar a bit? Okay, how about we lower the expectations for this team? It's not saying that, hey, this is what it's always going to be. We have to lower the bar because this is what the team always is. It's essentially saying this is where we are right now. Okay, we don't have to stay there. Obviously, as we go, you take that bar and you set it higher when you see that, okay, they're making strides in the right direction. They're taking those steps necessary to make the improvements to get us where we need to be. So then you take the bar and you elevate it some and say, hey, hit that. And as they start to approach that, you move the bar again. And you say, all right, You got there. Hit this one. And you start moving that bar until you get back to where you were to start the season off. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but that's where I am with this team. I moved the bar down. They're starting to make, a little headway, and they're moving towards that bar. And if they can hit that bar by beating Denver and playing like they did in this game against Green Bay, whether you think it was a great performance or you thought it was another lousy performance by a lousy team, whatever the case may be, I'm just telling you, improvements were made. For the first time this year, we didn't punt the football once. Not one single time did we punt in this game. We had over 400 yards of total offense in this football game. We had 4 trips to the red zone. We didn't have a single trip to the red zone last week against one of the worst defenses in the league in Kansas City. We didn't make one single trip into the red zone last week. We make 4 this week and there's no improvement? I get it. Lack of execution in the red zone. I can't disagree with you there. That's been a problem the last 3 weeks. Bottom line is we move the football with great efficiency. We spread it around. Guys were getting touches. We had explosive plays. We were able to keep the Green Bay offense from making this game ugly, because in past weeks, we haven't been able to do that. We had a chance. We didn't take advantage. That's what Jonathan Allen said it best. The good teams in this league find ways to win, and the bad teams in this league, or the teams that aren't very good, they find ways to lose. And we find ways to lose, and until we start figuring out how to find ways to win these types of games, we're going to be one of those teams that just doesn't win a ton of football games. That's essentially where we are. I watched the Chicago Bears get their doors blown off by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Game wasn't close. It was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. And unlike when we were down 21-0 against the Bills, we rallied back and cut it to a 7-point game. And if Kendall Fuller can hold on to an interception, we may be able to tie that game. And who knows what happens after that with all the momentum we had built. I said all that to say this. The Bears lost that game 38-3. They got drubbed. It was 31-3 at halftime. The Buccaneers literally took their foot off the gas pedal. Okay? The Green Bay Packers didn't take their foot off the gas pedal. They just couldn't score any more points. You don't think they wanted to score 38 or 45? If they could, they would have. They couldn't. So they didn't. I said that to say this. We're going to play the Buccaneers in 3 weeks. I guarantee you we don't lose 38-3. The Bears stink, and their record is better than ours, but they stink. We're not the Bears, and I'm not saying you should feel better because we're not the Bears. I'm just telling you for contextual purposes, okay? For contextual purposes, keep everything in its proper perspective. We aren't as bad as you think, because a lot of you don't watch other teams around the league. We're not that far off if we play the way, and this is the problem, and Ron's talking about this, consistency. If we play the way we played against Green Bay, we will have a chance to win most games, just like last year. This game wasn't that dissimilar from last year's performances. It really wasn't. The biggest difference last year, and I know a lot of you don't want to hear this, but our ability to run the football in the red zone. Peyton Barber and Antonio Gibson. Gibson had 12 rushing touchdowns a season ago. I don't know if he has 3 this season already to this point. Okay? Peyton Barber was a short yardage dynamo last season. We get in the red zone, we get in close, and we know we can hand it to Peyton Barber, worst case scenario. We don't have that same confidence, and we're not getting that same push with the offensive line in the red zone this season. Maybe when Sheriff and Sam Cosmi come back, maybe we'll have some kind of fluidity and continuity on the right side, and maybe we'll be able to run the football on the right side. But right now, we're not having any success running the football in the red zone, and that is absolutely killing us. Last year, we were able to run the football successfully, and that's why we were able to score in some games when we were down and we were looking to come back. We were able to score because we could run the ball in the red zone. Taylor Heineke isn't where he needs to be from a passing standpoint. There are guys open. I've told you this already. I told you against the Saints, that's what really pissed me off. I went back and watched the game again, and I see guys wide open in the red zone, and for some reason, just like against the Packers, he's fixated on Ricky Seals-Jones. That's the guy he's got to get the football to. There's a play in the Green Bay game. Go look at that Ricky Seals-Jones fourth down miss. And it was a miss because he could have gotten it to him quicker. But go look at that Ricky Seals-Jones fourth down play again if you have access to it. Go look at Dax Milne on that play. It's the same thing I said when he forced it to Ricky Seals-Jones against the Saints. Go look at Adam Humphries on both of those times he forced it to Ricky Seals-Jones in the end zone. Fourth down and a third down where we had to settle for a field goal. Go look at those plays against the Saints, and you go look at Adam Humphries and you tell me he's not open. He's got to stop predetermining where he's going with the football in the red zone and find the matchup that makes the most sense and get the football there. Dax Milne has a walk-in touchdown. Literally, there isn't a Packer defender within 2 yards of him in any direction. And at the end of the play, Dax Milne jumps up and down because Heineke missed him, and he knew it. But Heineke's fixated on 83. I got to get the ball to Ricky Seals-Jones. He's got to stop doing that shit. Anyway, back to the initial discussion. This team is getting better. And again, we can agree to disagree on that. You say that Ron's being outcoached and so is Jack. Again, I don't really know what you want me to say about that. Other than in certain situations, they are being outcoached. But a lot of it to me is on the players. I just told you Taylor Heineke is missing guys in the end zone. That's not a Jack Del Rio or a Ron Rivera problem. When, these players don't execute, on the fourth down scramble for Rodgers to find Devontae Adams, Ron was clear in saying, look, we didn't keep contained. There's supposed to be a guy out there to keep that cup, to keep Rodgers inside so that he can't get out there and allow him to extend the play, and somebody didn't do their job. Is that Jack Del Rio's fault? Is that Ron Rivera's fault? Or is that the player's fault for not executing? At some point, we have to stop skipping over the players and start holding them accountable. Now, if you want to say, if Ron and company are going to allow players to keep making the same mistakes and don't want to bench them or go in a different direction, now that's a different argument that I'll listen to. But at some point, we have to stop acting as if these players are robots and they're being programmed to do what they're doing on the field by the coaches, and the coaches are the ones programming them to do the wrong thing. No, they're being coached to do things a certain way, and they're just going out and doing it the way they want to do it, and it's not getting the results that the coaching staff set out for them to get if they were to do it the right way. Same thing with Heineke going through his reads. Can't just say before the snap, I'm going to Ricky Seals-Jones no matter what. Other guys are open. Read the field. He could have come off of Ricky Seals, gotten to Dax Milne late, and still hit him. He was that wide open. Again, at some point, players have to be held accountable. Like, I look at Danny Johnson, and I say, Danny played his ass off. I want more Danny Johnson. I want to see him get more opportunities. If William Jackson III comes back and this defense takes a step back and he's getting beaten, he's giving up pass interference penalties, sit his ass down and let's get Danny Johnson back in there and let's put Kendall Fuller back outside. Like, I'm sick of the bullshit. At certain points, you got to start holding guys accountable. As fans, you got to start holding players accountable and stop just going to the coaches and blaming them for everything. And at certain points, the coaching staff has to hold some of these players accountable. So, anyway, we'll see what happens. Ron is getting testy because the expectations were really high, and they're not even close to hitting those expectations. And I think he's more frustrated, not at the media for asking questions. I think he's more upset at the fact that this team isn't where he thought they would be at this current juncture. And these things happen. They regressed. He thought they would be ascending. But maybe that's still yet to come this season. Maybe they will ascend at some point this season. I think there's a chance. I said that yesterday, but it starts with week 8 at Denver. everything starts this week. Everything we want is still in front of us. Probably stands for the NFC East title. I mean, Dallas is running away with that pretty handily right now, but they're not out of the woods yet. You know, there's still a lot of football left to be played, and you never know what's going to happen. But as I sit here right now, I don't think there's really going to be a divisional race in the NFC East, but we will see what happens. But let's transition to in other news. So I want to talk about the NFC East. Usually I do this on Mondays. I didn't do it yesterday because there was so many other things that I wanted to get to. And so we didn't do it yesterday, but I want to talk about the NFC East now real quick. We'll talk about a couple of guys roster-wise that may be back this week and set the table for tomorrow when Washington will hit the field for practice, and then we'll get a report on some of these players. Just looking at the Cowboys' schedule, they're 5-1. They had a bye week. Dak Prescott is banged up. Now, I think he's going to play, but he's got a calf contusion, and he's going to play in the game, I think. But that's something that could linger, and it could affect him moving forward, and that could be the way that this division opens back up. Who knows? They've got a tough one on the road at Minnesota on Sunday Night Football. Very losable game there. And then they got the Broncos the week after that. That's a very winnable game, and they will win that game. But then they have the Falcons, who are playing some really good football. That's an interesting game. We'll see how that one goes. Then they're at the Chiefs after that. That's on a Thursday night, okay? So, or that's on a Sunday, excuse me. And then they got the Raiders the week after that. That's on a Thursday night. Then they have the Saints in New Orleans. That's on a Thursday night. And then we get them. So I said all of that to say this. They could lose this week. That would drop them to 5-2. If we win, that'll get us to 3-5. And all of a sudden, it's not that bad. You know, things are starting. I mean, we're 2 games back. Obviously, still a lot of work to be done. But the thing that is our saving grace is that there's still a lot of division games left to be played. Dallas has already played the Eagles once, and they've played the Giants once. And much like us, they've got a lot of their division games backloaded. They've got 4 division games backloaded. So they still got some games, though, on their schedule. Like, for instance, this Vikings game is going to be tough. That Falcons game at home should be a winnable game, but you never know. Falcons are playing with a lot more confidence than they were earlier in the season. That Chiefs game, who knows what the Chiefs will be come late November. The Raiders, all of a sudden, that doesn't look like a cakewalk like I thought it would be on Thanksgiving. The Cowboys have struggled on Thanksgiving Day the last 3-4 years now. So who knows what'll happen with that game. The Saints, that defense is tough enough to give Dallas fits. We'll see what happens there. We get them. I'm not afraid of them. That's at home. And then they still have the Arizona Cardinals on the schedule as well. So what I'm essentially saying to you is they're not out of the woods yet. I don't think we're going to catch them. If Dak stays healthy, this is their division to lose. But they're 5-1. The Giants get an impressive win over Carolina, who is struggling. And so now they're 2-5. The Eagles went to Vegas, got a mud hole stomped in them, even though the final score doesn't really indicate that. They lost that game 33-23. At one point, I think they lost that game, 34-23. At one point, that score was 31-7, okay? But that's nor here nor there. They lost that game. They're 2-5. We're 2-5. So 3 2-5 teams. We're the best of the 2-5 teams because we've got the best divisional record of the 2-5 teams, being that we've only played 1 divisional game and we're 1-0. So I like the fact that our divisional record is 1-0, and we've got a chance to really make some hay with the win here, and possibly coupled with the Dallas loss, things could get interesting. What I don't want is for Dallas to run away and hide with this division. I want them to have to fight for this. I don't want them to just feel like, oh, we got this thing made, and gift wrap for us. That's why that Saints loss, again, I keep harping on it. That's why that one hurt, because that was going to keep us within a rock's throw of Dallas in case they slipped up once or twice. Now, if they slip up once or twice, they've got so big of a cushion that they're still going to be ahead of us, or whoever else is in the division trying to make any noise. I mean, the Giants have the Chiefs on the road on Monday night. I mean, the Chiefs looked really bad, but Mahomes passed concussion protocol. I assume he's going to play. And even though the Giants haven't been all that good this season, their defense hasn't been terrible. that's going to be an interesting game. One that they can win. I don't think they will, but the Eagles have a winnable game against the Lions. If they can't go to Detroit and beat the Lions, they're going to be everything we thought they were going into the season, which is one of the worst teams in football. Okay? I think I had the Eagles being a 5-win team, 6 at the most. I think I had them as a 5-win team, going into the season. They could definitely be a 5-win team if they can't go to Detroit and keep the Lions winless. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on what the other teams in the division are doing. But, we care more about what we're doing. Again, we'll let the rest of the division take care of itself. The only thing we can control is what we do. We need a win, and we need it in the worst way, and we need to find a way to get that done in Week 8 to try to start to turn the tide on this season that has been a little bit disappointing, to say the least. I want to talk about some of these injured players before we get out of here and move on. This is an interesting week, and there's a dilemma here if you're Ron Rivera. I think the move is to just wait until after the bye week, but that's easier for me to say because I'm not sitting there at 2-5 and desperate for a win and looking at the Broncos like a very winnable game. And that carrot is being dangled in front of Ron, which is why he didn't put Brandon Sheriff on IR, which is why he didn't put Curtis Samuel on IR, because he probably said to himself, if we could get these guys back for the Denver game, we may have a chance. Logan Thomas is eligible to come off of IR this week. Curtis Samuel hasn't played in the last 2 games. He may be a lot healthier and ready to go. They may be thinking to themselves, hey, if we push Curtis a little bit this week, he'll have all of next week to sit out because we got a bye week and we'll be ready to go. I contend just let him sit for a month. If he's missed 2 games, let him miss this game. He'll be off next week on the bye, and then he should be ready to go after the bye week against Tampa. That would be my move. But again, easier for me to say. Same with Cam Sims. Just let the hamstring rest. He'll be ready to go after the Tampa game. Don't need to rush any of these guys back. Sam Cosmi and the ankle, don't need to re-aggravate it trying to rush him back. Give him this week and next week, and then he'll be ready for Tampa the week thereafter. I think we're going to get the cavalry back. I don't think a lot of you realize just how many guys, impactful players, are out right now. And it's really hurting us, especially on the offensive side of football. That's where really the majority of our injuries are. You got Cosmi and Sheriff on the right side of the offensive line. You got Cam Sims and Curtis Samuel. Never, ever trust a man with 2 names, first names on the offensive side as wide receivers. Obviously, you've got Ryan Fitzpatrick. Again, that injury didn't really bother me much. I mean, I don't know what we would have been with him in the lineup. Maybe we're better. That's a definite possibility. And if he were to come back and Ron says, all right, we want to give Ryan a look, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. But at the end of the day, we're missing a ton of stuff. Logan Thomas at the tight end position, I think that's hurting us a lot in the red zone as well. So if we could get some of these guys back after the bye week, I think this really gives us a chance. And it'll be interesting to see what Ron does because I think he's looking to push the envelope and he's going to try to get a Logan Thomas, potentially a Curtis Samuel back this week. If Sheriff feels good, maybe push him into the lineup as well. I say you just wait till after the bye week and see if you can't get it done with the group that you've been running with the last 3 weeks, to a month or so. But easier said than done. The Broncos are going to be getting some players back this week, so we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be interesting to see the injury report and see what guys actually were on the, a side field, getting work. Like, guys have been at practice, but they haven't been getting any work on the side field. If Logan Thomas is getting work on the side field this week, if Brandon Sheriff is on the side field getting some light work in, that's encouraging. Maybe those guys are playing this week. If those guys are at practice, but they're not participating and got a ball cap on and street clothes, then more likely than not, they're going to just wait until after the bye week. And I don't have a problem with that either. Honestly, that's the way I would approach it. But this game is so big that I think Ron may try to push the envelope a bit and get some of those guys back to see if they can't help us win a big-time game against the Denver Broncos. So before we get out of here, want to quickly remind all gold members of the Mob Squad that we will squad up on Thursday night, 7 p. All right, so Thursday, October 28th, I believe that is. Thursday, October 28th, 7 p.m., we're going to squad up, and we're going to meet our monthly gold member meeting, and look forward to chopping it up with you guys. Ask me anything. If you want to come on live with me, you know, get your stuff ready, get your setup ready, have your audio ready, have your visual input ready, whatever the case may be. If you just want to type in comments and we just chop it up, so be it. Bring your beverages, and we're going to toast to what we hope is a much better second half to the season than the first half. And honestly, I think that change is coming, and I think it starts with the Denver Broncos in Week 8. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I thought we were going to beat the Saints in Week 5, and we didn't. So we'll see what happens, but I like our chances a lot, and I think that this toast on Thursday may be the thing that sparks us in the right direction and gets this puppy moving the way we need it to, so that we're playing meaningful football in late November instead of talking about the draft in April next year. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Washington Football Nightly. I thank each and every single one of you for joining me. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys live tomorrow night, 8:30 p. for Washington Football Nightly. Live. Until then, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35. The